Hello, people of the world watching new vehicle reviews on the internet. Welcome to this, the 2025 Nissan Frontier Pro4X. It's one of the last true simple recipes for a mid-sized truck out there. And today I'm going to get it up in the air, we're going to nerd out the tech specs, see how it's constructed, and then go put it to the test off-road. Before I begin, let's all have a moment of silence for the Hardbody edition, which was a 1 year only special model they did last year. I'm sad that it did not continue on for 2025. First up, tow capacity, 6,680 pounds. Single side exit exhaust, looks like mild aluminized steel. Well, that's nice, you at least get a matching spare tire, but the wheel, just steely. I'm not sad about that, wish I had 5 of them. Out back, the Frontier keeps it old school. Simple, leaf spring, and solid axle suspension configuration. Inside the pumpkin of that Dana-sourced solid rear axle is a 3.692 final drive ratio with an electronic locking rear differential. And it's paired with a set of tried and true yellow body Bilstein shocks made in the USA with 4 leafs in that pack, in case you were wondering. You'll notice there is no additional lift block underneath the leaf pack and the axle on the Pro4X. Rear anti-sway bar mounted to the back of the solid axle measures in at approximately about 26.5mm diameter. The third generation, or chassis code D41 Nissan Frontier, is built on the F Alpha platform, and this 4-door Pro4X model weighs in at 4,759 pounds with a 57 to 43 front to rear weight distribution. Dual inlet, single outlet stainless steel muffler manufactured by Marelli, still utilizing mild aluminized steel for construction. Those dual pipes measure in at approximately 54-ish millimeter in diameter each, which is a little over 2-inch SAE. And the muffler back single portion measuring in about 64 millimeter or 2.5-inch SAE. Steel skid plate underneath the fuel tank and big beefy aluminum drive shaft from Dana Spicer. As far as the transmission goes, all Frontiers come standard with the JR913E, which is a 9-speed planetary gear set based automatic transmission, originally a German design. This one is assembled in Japan by Jatco and has a maximum torque input rating of 700 Newton meters or 515 pound-feet. Plastic transmission pan, cooler. It is paired to the Magna-sourced TX15B 2-speed transfer case with a 2.717 to 1 ratio in low range. Steel skid plate under the transfer case, looks like it's already been used. Front diff's easy to access, but no front locker option. Up front utilizes an all steel in construction double wishbone front suspension configuration with cast iron front knuckles, split for the lower ball joint. Again paired with those Bilstein yellow body coilover front dampers. The steering rack, which you can barely see above the skid plate right here, actually pretty easy access, is engine speed dependent variable rate, 3 turns lock to lock. Ease of maintenance, aside from the cats not being in a very enjoyable location, it's not super tight up in there. A front anti-sway bar measures in at approximately 36 millimeter in diameter. Steel skid plate bolted to the cross member protecting your engine oil pan. Double skid plated in the front. It'd be nice to see some Nismo parts returned to these things though. All right, it's time for the braking test. Nothing behind me. Ready, set, go. Okay. All my camera stuff in the back seat. Stopping distance, a little bit longer than I was hoping for. Smooth, a little bit of nosedive. I would say just a smidge past average stopping distance was what I was hoping for, but not bad. Not bad. That braking was just made possible thanks to a set of 2 piston calipers with a 297 millimeter or 11.7 inch front rotor. The wheels, they're an optional 17 by 7.5 die cast alloy beadlock replica looking wheels manufactured in China, wrapped in a set of 2 65/70 17-inch Hankook Dynapro AT2 tires. It's sad that Nissan only offered the 17-inch Lego wheel replica off the Hardbody edition for 1 year. Plastic, inner fender liners, texturized black plastic flares, and more than a fist width of ride height. The vents on the side are fake. Body colored recovery points. Front trail cam and active grille shutter behind the front grille. Does have a nice thick chip guard coat underneath the base and clear on the lower half of the doors in the rocker area, plus a bedside leading edge plastic cap. Nissan, what is going on in your rear wheel well? This area is all completely open for stuff to build up. Out back, you go down to a single piston caliper with a 287mm or 11.3-inch rotor. The wheel and tire, same size as you get up front. This video is sponsored by me, my very own car detailing product company, RoboBubble, made in USA. And if you'd like to use what I use to keep my cars clean and also support this channel, this is how you can on my website, sarahntune.com. Thanks. In the name of science, I shall now give it the beans. But first, an assessment of bolstering. You know what? The seat's wide, but it does actually have bolstering to it. I didn't think it would. It looks super flat. The seats are black leather with orange stitch, the Pro4X logo, and some orange inside the perforations. The seats are heated, as well as the steering wheel is heated. Quick access to defeat the auto stop start. I love that the buttons are just simple physical buttons. They're not integrated into any screens or menus. As far as drive modes go, I have a tow mode, in case you want to tow something. To the left of the steering wheel, I do have the traction control button, as well as my rear diff lock button. I can slap this over into manual mode, where you can use it sequentially. There are no paddles in the back of the steering wheel, but I'm gonna just let the robots do the thinking, leave it in drive, and let's see what this thing can do. Ready? Go. Ooh, spun tires a little bit. The NA song of a VQ. You know what? That's good. Pulls good in the upper RPM. It's reasonably quick, actually. Good pop. You'll notice the underside of the hood isn't painted on this one, and that's because the truck that they sent me was actually a pre-production model, so some of the fit and finish isn't going to be the same standard of quality as one that you'd actually be able to buy. Underneath the hood of the 2025 Nissan Frontier Pro4X is the VQ38DD, which is a 3.8-liter naturally aspirated 4-cam V6 that produces 310 horsepower at 6,400 RPM and 281 pound-feet of torque at 4,400 RPM. Digging a little bit deeper on this 3,779cc V6, it is oversquared at a 95.5 by 88.4 millimeter bore and stroke with an 11:1 compression ratio. Moving up to the cylinder heads, it does have continuous variable valve timing on both intake and exhaust cams. Intake cams are electronically controlled, whereas the exhaust cams are hydraulically controlled with oil pressure. This does also have valve lift on the intake cams. And this does have Nissan's Neo DI direct fuel injection system. No port fuel injection though, to keep the back of the intake valves clean. It is a chain driven engine, but that chain also drives the water pump, although Nissan has been doing this for like 2 decades now on the VQ series engines. The 4-liter also had that. It's a little different on this engine than it is in the 4-liter, but it does still have an external weep hole. I move the engine cover, which is foam. Speaking of maintenance, up here on the front half of the engine, you can see there's actually quite a bit of room right here by the serpentine belt, although unlike the old 4-liters, this does utilize an electronic cooling fan, not an engine-driven one. It does have plastic valve covers. Kind of old school layout with the intake manifold. It flops over one bank of cylinders, making access to this right bank kind of tricky. Not my favorite design, but it does utilize an electronic brake booster. All in all, it's still a pretty simple recipe for a pickup truck, and I do like that about it. It is now time for Rally Special Stage 2.0. First time taking one of these Frontiers around it. Excited to see how it's gonna do. So I'll shift this thing over for high. I'm going to defeat my traction control. I am gonna use manual mode for this. I feel like just for a performance situation on this track that it may actually be more beneficial to use manual mode than let the robots do the thinking in this transmission. Let's see what this thing can do. Ready? Go! That's a pretty good takeoff. Man, it is a massive delay when you actually hit shift and then it finally does in manual mode. Yeah, All right, I'm putting it back into auto. That is wild. You hit shift and it just waits for like 2 or 3 seconds to finally do it. Okay. The engine sounds great in this thing though. The Bilsteins, they're good. This is, for this trail, I'm reaching the limits of the Bilsteins. No, the stability aids are kicking in even though I have it turned off. Very intrusive actually. The sound of the engine is great though. Yeah, geez, really aggressive robots. Doesn't really like letting you get very crazy. Come on, downshift. There we go. The steering is great though. Like absolutely, I love the heft to the steering feel. I think some people complain about that in these trucks, but I actually really enjoy it. Very solid feeling in the front end on this thing. That is a huge takeaway already. You know what, actually, going over some of this rough stuff, even with a solid axle and leaves in the back, it's doing a great job. Got a little airborne right there. The stability control though is just super, the ABS is super intrusive. Very, very on the cautious side. The braking is great though, when you actually do need them. Very snappy brakes. Come on, downshift, there you go. And done. It's a quick truck, absolutely a quick truck. The transmission at times though, it's not as fast to react as I want it to be. So here's a little test. First gear, let's see where red line is at, where fuel cut is at. So basically 7,000 RPM is where fuel cut is at, and it doesn't shift for you. I love that part. Now, I'm gonna actually shift, and these cameras are synced up, so we'll do first gear, and then I'm gonna short shift at like 6. See how much there's a delay? This truck could benefit so massively from a manual transmission option. It's a shame that they don't offer it. Even if they sell 5%, it's still a shame they don't offer it. It's time for the hill climb test. I am gonna do the crossover unibody all-wheel drive hill climb with this thing because it is a good benchmark, I feel, for everything to test because it's got great articulation, super sharp breakover at the top. It is fairly steep. So I'm gonna do this in 4 high and rear diff lock. Roll a little bit. Come on. Come on, diff lock. I think I gotta be in 4 low to make diff lock work. Switch this into 4 low, put it in neutral. Come on, diff lock. There we go. Diff is locked. Okay. Go in second gear. Robots doing their thing. Brake over. No problem. Good. Simple. Simple. I like that it's got the trail cams, but it's really weird. It's not utilizing the whole screen. I got this big wide screen, and I feel like I could have everything up on there. To the left of the steering wheel, I do have the hill descent control feature. Shows a little picture of a SUV. Wishful thinking that they'd bring back the Xterra. Okay, going back down. I'm gonna do the aggressive side over here to the left. And then my foot's off the brake. Robots. Yep, nice and smooth. The seat in the Frontier is appropriately sized for the Frontier. This thing is not trying to be a full size, and that's what I like about it. And I actually have plenty of leg room. The seat's where I would be sitting in the front, and I'm almost 6 foot. Got a USB-C, USB old school, AC power inverter, 400 watt, 1 map pocket, no map pocket. Cost savings. Cup holders just kind of implanted into the cushion. Manual slider. Love that. Well, the door is actually padded. Got an appropriately sized sunroof up front. Do you like bananas? Anybody? Okay. Yeah, this is the one downside about the back seat in the Frontier though. Either I'm dumb or the seats just don't like to stay up when you fold them up. It's got a little wet tray that you can put some fish in. Oh, the seatbelt into my pressure point. I feel like Nissan does a great job with making durable floor mats that actually seem like they'll last. AC power inverter, wireless phone charger, another cubby that looks like a phone charger, but it's not. The dash has also got some orange stitching on the plastic, some more orange accents. As far as the center console goes, just a big cubby with some clips to hold some sausages. Steering wheel control is pretty simple, idiot proof. There's actually quite a bit of info you can display in the center of the gauge cluster here. Driver assist. It's got all kinds of robot safety features built in. Dual zone climate control with physical knobs and buttons, so you don't have to go in through the screen to get to it. As far as the infotainment system goes, I feel they did a great job of integrating it into the dash so it doesn't look out of place or tacky. Unlike the Frontier logo down below. I don't feel like it's adding anything to the interior and kind of looks like an aftermarket accessory. As far as the sound system goes, the Fender audio in here, bravo, excellent punch to the bass. Sounds great with metal. The highs, they're pretty good. They're not like top shelf level clear, but still huge fan of the sound system. Some may criticize the Frontier for not offering an extreme off-road trim level to compete with the Ranger Raptor or the ZR2 Bison or the Tacoma Trail Hunter or TRD Pro, but I look at it as kind of a benefit of this truck. It's just reasonable in all aspects, and this one being fully spec'd out is 50 grand, which compared to a Tacoma, that's like a mid-level Tacoma at best, actually. It doesn't feel like a mid-level truck, it just feels like what you would expect with a mid-sized truck. Well, the Pro4X on its own in the low to mid 40s is fairly reasonable. When you add the interior upgrades that this one has, bringing it to 50 grand, it starts to not really be as appealing. I feel this truck gets more appealing the lower you spec it, which is why it's a shame that you can't get a manual transmission option on this truck, because a lot of people that are looking for a simple vehicle, which this still is, are looking for a manual transmission. It's not without faults. There are some things that I dislike about this truck, but there is a lot of things to like about it, and the dislikes I have are just simple issues that really, like the transmission tuning and the overly aggressive stability and nanny systems that it has that I wish I could defeat fully. It's all software based stuff. The hardware, I don't really have any faults with anything mechanically about it, and it's still a naturally aspirated V6, which is something only Honda really offers now, and one of my favorite attributes about the Ridgeline is that glorious sounding naturally aspirated Honda J Series V6. And for this being an NA V6, which most of the argument to go to a turbocharged 4-cylinder was to improve fuel economy, I was averaging just over 20 miles per gallon with this truck, nudging 21 miles per gallon, which is great for what it is. It's kind of brick shaped, actually. And for those of you that are watching right now that are enthusiasts, I did do a little sniffing around the internet to see what was out there for this. There's a ton of aftermarket parts for these things. There's even a 1.9 liter supercharger you can get for it, which is sweet. And someone's already swapped a Titan VK56 V8 into one. So the sky's kind of the limit with this platform. If I had to give my personal recommendation on the best model to go for this truck, it would be an SV King Cab 4x4, no options added. Under $40,000 for a mid-size 4x4 truck. It's a little bit lighter than this, so it's gonna get a little bit better fuel economy, a little bit peppier because it's a little less weight to cart around. The King Cab body configuration, if you don't need that extra space to haul around people that should just buy their own car, unless it's a child, your child should just ride a Power Wheels everywhere. I'm losing my argument here. The King Cab just looks better. That's the way to go. It is now time to give this Frontier some scores, starting with the bean score, the assessment of the feeling you get in your gut when you give it the beans. And the Frontier Pro4X gets a rating of, followed by the cookie score, the assessment of value, and this fully loaded Pro4X at about $50,000 gets a rating of. Next is the wrench score, the assessment of ease of maintenance, and it gets a rating of. Next is the meatball score, the assessment of how rocks are like wads of meat and vehicles drive over them. And it's getting a rating of full telescopic action on that one. Lastly is the Penguin score, the assessment on how much I personally like a vehicle. And the 25 Frontier gets a rating of... It might seem like I was being a little harsh on this truck in this review, and that's because this personally would be the mid-size truck I would buy if I was buying a mid-size truck today. And I'd find a way to manual swap one using the 6-speed manual from the D40 gen. It's gotta be possible. The VQ bell housing is probably the same, I would imagine. Anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed this review. I'll see you soon with another. Bye.